All right, today we're diving into a huge public health story that's unfolding right now in India. And it all starts with something impossibly small, a single tiny error in our genetic code. It's this incredible battle against an ancient disease, but fought with brand new 21st century tools. And honestly, the outcome is, well, it's anyone's guess. So, what are we talking about here? At a molecular level, it's literally just one letter swapped for another in our DNA. Think of it like a single typo in a giant book. But that one tiny, tiny mistake, it's led to generations of just immense suffering. And now it's triggered one of the most ambitious and, controversial public health missions the world has ever seen. Okay, so first things first, what exactly is sickle cell anemia? And why has this one genetic condition turned into such a devastating crisis, particularly for certain communities in India? Let's break it down. So it all comes down to our red blood cells. Normally, they're these beautiful, soft, round discs, kind of like little donuts that just glide through our veins carrying oxygen. But with sickle cell anemia, a faulty protein called hemoglobin S messes everything up. It forces these cells to deform into a hard, sticky crescent shape, like a sickle. And that is where all the problems really start. And this shows you the whole catastrophic chain reaction. It's like a domino effect. That one genetic glitch makes the hemoglobin clump together into these rigid rods. Those rods then stretch the red blood cell into that sickle shape. And because they're so rigid and sticky, they cause a massive traffic jam in your tiniest blood vessels. It's called a vaso-occlusive crisis, and it's what causes the signature, absolutely agonizing pain of the disease. It's literally your body being starved of oxygen, bit by bit. And here's a look at the day-to-day reality of this. A healthy red blood cell, it cruises around for about 4 months. But a sickle cell is so fragile, it breaks down and dies in just 10 to 20 days. I mean, think about that. Your body just can't make new cells fast enough to keep up. And that leads to chronic anemia, constant fatigue, just a relentless strain on your entire system. Now, this isn't some random illness that strikes anyone. No, it's incredibly concentrated in India's tribal communities, the Adivasi people. I mean, in a state like Chhattisgarh, something like 1 in every 10 people carries the gene. So why? Well, the leading theory is that it's a really tragic evolutionary trade-off. It turns out that carrying just one copy of the gene actually gave people protection against malaria, which used to be a huge killer in these areas. So you have this deep-rooted historical crisis. And in response, the Indian government has launched something audacious. We're talking about one of the biggest genetic screening programs ever even attempted. And this mission has a super clear roadmap. It all kicked off in 2023. The goal? To screen the entire population between birth and 40 years old in all the most affected areas. The end date they've set is 2047, which, is the 100th anniversary of India's independence. The idea is to basically stop this disease in its tracks by then. The scale of this thing is it's staggering. We're talking about 7 crore people. That's 70 million individuals. To give you some perspective, that's more than the entire population of the UK. It is a truly monumental effort to create a complete genetic map of this disease across hundreds of districts. Okay, but how do you manage all that information? Well, at the very heart of this prevention strategy is a simple piece of plastic, a little card. But this card is both, medically brilliant and socially explosive. We're talking about the genetic status card. So, here's how it works. It's actually pretty simple. After you get screened, you get a card. If you're totally healthy, the card is plain. But if you're a carrier, or if you actually have the disease, your card gets a special mark, like a hole punch. The whole idea is to make your genetic status super clear and easy to understand, especially in places where literacy might be low. And the advice that comes with it is very direct. If your card is marked, you should avoid marrying someone else whose card is also marked. It's all about preventing the birth of a child with the full-blown disease. And believe me, the government is not being subtle about this at all. They have a slogan that translates to, match the cards before you match the horoscopes. And believe me, the government is not being subtle about this at all. They have a slogan that translates to, match the cards before you match the horoscopes. I mean, wow, that's a direct challenge to the deeply ingrained cultural tradition of using astrology to arrange marriages. It's basically saying, hey, forget the stars for a second, let's look at the genes. But this is where things get really complicated, and it raises a huge, difficult question. In a society where arranged marriage is still very common, does this card become a helpful tool for health? Or does it become a label, a brand that says you're genetically defective? The biggest fear is that a young person, especially a young woman, with a marked card might suddenly be seen as unmarriageable. You risk creating a whole new kind of social stigma. Okay, so that's the long-term prevention plan. But what about the millions of people who are already living with this disease right now? What does their path forward look like? Well, it's actually a fascinating mix of standard medicine, some really cutting-edge cures, and even traditional wisdom. For a long time, the cornerstone of treatment has been a drug called hydroxyurea, and its impact is honestly dramatic. The way it works is it helps the body produce a different kind of hemoglobin that doesn't sickle as easily. And for a patient, what that means is a massive, massive drop in those horrible pain crises. We're talking up to a 93% reduction in some studies. It is absolutely life-changing. Now, there is an established cure, a bone marrow transplant. But, and this is a huge but, that cure comes with a staggering price tag. Just look at these numbers. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars. For the vast majority of families who are dealing with this, it's completely out of reach. It's a cure that might as well be on another planet. So, with those expensive cures being so out of reach, there's a growing focus on solutions that are actually accessible. And that includes looking at nutrition and traditional wisdom. Researchers are now seriously studying the role of ancient grains like millets. Why? Because they're packed with antioxidants that help fight the cell damage, and some studies even show that a diet rich in millets can help improve hemoglobin levels. It's this really cool link between modern science and age-old food traditions. And that really brings us to the big final question here. India's mission to get rid of sickle cell is, without a doubt, a bold and necessary experiment. But its success, that's going to depend on a really delicate balance, right? A balance between the cold, hard logic of genetics on one hand and the incredibly complex personal realities of culture, marriage, and human dignity on the other. So the question we're left with is this: can you engineer a healthier genetic future without accidentally breaking the social fabric of the present?